Tonight on Joy News Prime, Opposition National Democratic Congress says it remains unconvinced by the Electoral Commission's justifications for a new voters register.
Successful conduct of limited voter registration exercise and voter registration exhibition. How can you successfully conduct a limited voter registration and voter exhibition on a system that is about to crash?
We would also hear the EC's justifications of why the Commission says it is open to using the database of the National Identification Authority to compile a new voters register. Also, government to revise its strategy in tackling illegal mining following a resurgence in the menace in the last few months.
Unless our brothers in the military are here, their uniform alone is enough scare to them.
So how soon should we expect this military deployment to this other forests?
Next week it will happen.
Parliament's Public Accounts Committee pushes for powers to sanction public officials who misapply public funds. And in business,
mobile telecom giant MTN begins migration of subscribers onto an alternative internet service provider after damage to undersea fiber cables caused massive disruption to mobile internet services.
Services are slowly coming up because the teams are working very hard to restore capacity on that particular cable, and we're rerouting more traffic through the ACE system.
And married women are said to be opting to become side chicks in addition to being the main women in their marriages. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, the main woman, and Joy News Prime comes to you live from our studios in Ekokomlemle, Accra on digital address GA09925539. We are on Go TV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. Please stay with us. Many thanks for choosing us. We begin with the Electoral Commission that says it is open to the idea of compiling a new voters register for the 2020 elections from the database of the National Identification Authority if the authority can finish its exercise in good time. The concession comes on the back of public resistance to the plans by the EC to overhaul the current electoral system, which it says will be unable to support the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. At a meeting with selected journalists here in Accra, the EC argued most of the devices in the current electoral system are burnt out. Dr. Yao Furiji is a consultant at the Commission.
So currently, the Commission is in a place where it is logged into a particular vendor. It's been logged in with this particular vendor since 2012. And the Commission wants to move away from that scenario where it has no control whatsoever with regards to its data systems, its voter management system. It needs to own that space. Now, in order for us to use the existing data that we have, we will need to migrate it. Unfortunately, the biometric templates that were generated for the system that we currently use were kept in a proprietary format. That format is not convertible, so we can't use it in another system except the system that was designed by the current vendor, and that's the vendor lock-in that we are talking about. So in my discussions, I've said that for people who already have a voter ID, there will be some migration of data. That data would be the bio data, which is the name, the age, my mother's address, father's address, etc. But what we would need to recapture will be the facial image and then the 10 fingerprints that the person has. And by so doing, we intend to drastically reduce the time it takes for a registration process to take place. So we are not discarding the data that we have, not at all. We are using the data that we have, and we are improving the quality of the images that already exist in the database by acquiring new ones.
So this is going to cost us how much?
I don't think we quite know what the exact figure is. There have been some projections.
Which figure or which ballpark figure are you looking?
I believe that during my presentation, the calculated figure for this was somewhere around about 50 million USD.
The NI data is not ready, but you can use it, you say.
So there are challenges with even using the NIA data.
Well, I heard the chairperson say that we can use it.
Yes, we can use it. don't get me wrong, we can use it. And in fact, I'm a proponent for the use of the NHIA data as the NIA data as the source data for all the identification systems that are in the country. I'm a proponent for it. Okay, but for instance, the way in which the data was collected, for instance, did not take into consideration the polling stations of the individuals. What it means is that we may have unique individuals that the NIA can give us, but which polling station do they vote in? We don't know.
But that shouldn't be a problem from the explanation I've heard here.
Yes, so it is possible that once that data is ready, we then can start another process where we say, come with your NIA cards to your polling stations where you are, and then we would then take that.
Yes, we could finish this. They could finish it in 2 months with with adequate pressure. Are you comfortable with the NIA finishing it in 2 months so they can use it?
I think that, and it's a big if, and unfortunately the Commission is not in the business of working with ifs. We want certainties. That is why we have specific timelines or specific points where certain things must be completed. So we cannot risk an election not happening because we gambled on an if. So the Commission will make sure that it's taking every step to ensure that should something not go right, we still will be able to conduct the election. I believe that the NIA should be given all the opportunity that it needs to be able to make sure that we get a unified identity system that all agencies can use. Can they do it before our timetable?
Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu says the NDC remains unconvinced by the Electoral Commission's justification for a new voters register.
Wanted Dr. Sribwa, as I got the name right,
Sribwa, yes.
Sribwa, to share with the Ghanaian public what the justification for a new voter register will be for the country. And setting up an IT system, you are setting up units and components that must be tested, and you must ensure compliance before takeoff.
Yeah.
An IT system for the purpose of an electoral commission and for the conduct of elections is national in character. And that is why precisely, in my view, the Electoral Commission has not convinced me, and I'm not sure they would be able to convince me and a lot more Ghanaians to appreciate their justification for a new biometric voter register. And indeed, I'll take you through their own record and their own submissions to the Special Budget Committee of Parliament as they appeared before us, and matters that they related to the Commission. So I'm going to refer to the report of the Special Budget Committee on the 2019 budget estimates of the Electoral Commission and submissions that they made to us, which will tie in many of the issues that you questioned them on.
So this was last month, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll come to last month. I'm going to take you through 2019 budget. Okay. So this last year.
Right.
The Electoral Commission, when it was asked how it utilized its budget of 373,445,112, indicated, and I quote, the successful conduct of limited voter registration exercise and voter registration exhibition. How can you successfully conduct a limited voter registration and voter exhibition on a system that is about to crash? I leave that to you, as you cleverly asked.
Members on Parliament's Public Accounts Committee are pushing for amendments to the Constitution so they're given more powers to sanction public officials who misapply state funds. The committee has been interrogating claims of misuse of public funds as captured in the Auditor General's 2014 and 2015 reports. The MPs are concerned a lot of the state agencies have been repeating infractions over the years because no one punishes them. MP for Keta Richard Kwashigan says it's about time the committee is given more powers to deal with those who misuse public funds.
It's an attitudinal problem because these are different people in different areas that have become district chief executives or financial officers or coordinating directors, and they keep repeating the same mistakes, the same errors, some obviously deliberate. And these advices have been given over and over again, and we don't seem to be seeing some real change in a positive direction. Cracking the whip to a large extent should bring about some transformation and some different way of doing things. Because when you go to Rwanda, for instance, the Public Accounts Committee, when it is sitting, will normally have police officers present who obviously will take action when the chairman of the committee deems fit. But our constitution or our laws do not give the Public Accounts Committee those powers. You know, and obviously that will compel people and instill some fear in them to do what is right and proper. Of course, we have observed that even the public hearings sometimes, you know, compel people to quickly go and amend the errors that they've committed as a result of the reports emanating from the auditor's office. You know, but that is not good enough. We must get to a point where the infractions will not be committed in the first place at all. You know, so that there will not be that room for you to now go and remedy it. You know, that is what we're saying. And that tells me one thing, that it is an attitudinal challenge we have as a society, as a people. And so there definitely must be a mind change, a shift in the way we do things. You know, other than that, we'll continue to have these things on our hands.
Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Kweku Asum-Akyereme has announced government will in the coming days revise its approach to tackling illegal mining following a resurgence in the menace. The Odan River and the Forest Reserve, both in the Ashanti region, have in recent weeks borne the brunt of onslaught by unregistered Chinese small-scale miners and their Ghanaian collaborators. The minister made the discovery during the unannounced visit to the 16,000-hectare reserve. My colleague Latif Idris went along and has come through with this report.
Close to 3 years of fighting illegal mining across the mining regions across the country, it appears the fight is not achieving or realizing the desired result. Illegal miners, Chinese and locals, continue to evade authorities to dig for gold in the country's forest reserves. Today, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Kweku Asum-Akyereme has taken the fight to yet another mining region, that is the Ashanti region. In the Oda River Forest Reserve, illegal miners continue to pillage the forest for gold at the blind side of authorities. The distraught minister says the strategy is changing with immediate effect.
As of now, we have no other alternative than to use them. You know, these miners, if you come here unarmed, you may be attacked. No civilian can easily approach them to tell them to stop, unless our brothers in the military are here. Their uniform alone is enough scare to them.
So how soon should we expect this military deployment to this other forests?
Just next week it will happen. You see, there is one excavator.
Sorry.
Today too. There is one excavator in the...
You will not fall?
Yes, in the open pit. And as soon as they saw us, they fled.
Yeah.
It means that when we leave here, they will come back and work. So the action that we have to take here will have to be immediate. You see how they have devastated the forest. And it is not only this area. As we are being told, there are other areas of this forest.
And just to cut you, we can hear a sound in the background. We are told this is Chamfine machine operating on the river. Does this come as a shock to you?
I've always been telling you journalists that as we close one avenue today, they open another. We have met to revise our notes. We are adopting very pragmatic steps, including burning of such equipment. The excavators, we say that we'll come and lift them. But these equipment under fire now, if we should leave them, in the night they may come back to operate.
You are looking at another illegal mine site still in the Oda River Forest Reserve. The Minister Kweku Asum-Akyereme just set ablaze one of the mining equipment here at the mine site. This plus many other mining equipments have been set ablaze by the minister, who is furious about the fact that still illegal mining continues to take place deep in the country's forest reserve. Here is a makeshift structure, and this is where the illegal miners take naps.
It's sort of the Dodge game. They are always spying on us, waiting for the least opportunity to enter the reserve. And what happened from the onset of this incident was that they first came to the off-reserve area and we confronted them, and they told us they had a community mining permit, which they couldn't even show us. They first brought it inside the reserve. I came and dismantled all the structures and sacked them from the reserve, burned everything. You can see the debris. Yeah. And then they moved the structure outside the reserve. I will tell you, certain forces are behind. Let me say, big men are behind all this.
And you know them?
We don't know them, but it's their boys.
You know their boys?
Yeah, we know some of their boys.
President Akufo-Addo in August last year assented to a new illegal mining law which pegs sentences for the illegal act to some 25 years. But it appears that is not deterrent enough.
It is not for nothing that the law has been made. So we cannot sit for people to abuse the law. Looking at it, we have very stiffer sanctions for those who engage in this exercise.
In all, 2 excavators were retrieved from the mine site, with many other mining equipment and personal effects of the absconded illegal miners being set ablaze by the minister and his team. Latif Idris, Joy News, Oda River Forest Reserve.
And so to come in this bulletin, married women are said to be opting to become side chicks in addition to being the main women in their marriages.
It's not planned. It's more unintentional, and they find themselves in relationships with other married men, and they find it fun.
Stay on Joy News Prime. There is more when we return. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Let's get to the rest of our stories, and we're taking you to a village in Burkina Faso called Yele, where both live band and studio generated music is forbidden at social gatherings. So instead of DJs blaring local and foreign hits from loudspeakers, partygoers are serenaded by singers using nothing else but their chords. Now, Joy News' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin attended a typical marriage ceremony in this village where locals believe patronizing contemporary music would undermine their old age traditions.
They dance to their own songs from the power of their stunning voice. Movement of both legs and entire body gives life to the celebration here at Yale. It is 9 a.m. Saturday, and women are expected here in the course of the day.
What you see behind me is a marriage ceremony here at Yele in Burkina Faso. This is exactly what they do in every marriage ceremony. They are not ready for any musical instrument because it is against their beliefs.
We thank Allah for this day, that He has favored our sister, Rukaya Yusuf, by blessing her with a husband. We pray Allah to make the marriage ceremony a success.
Call it culture on display, marriage ceremony without modern musical instruments.
I am the auntie to the bride, and this is the reason why we don't allow musical instruments. It is un-Islamic, and without the music instruments, we make both the bride and groom happier in their marriage life.
Ango so ahuru nyon. Boroi orota nombembe.
Nende kize hina aure mai. Dia koro de kize
Our traditional music is important to us because both the bride and groom will be happy, and the children will also learn from it.
While women dance to their own tunes inside, men mind their business outside. They never interfere in each other's affairs at such occasion or any other gathering. Abdullahi Musa is a native who was born and raised in Kumasi. His relocation to Yale brought a whole new perspective to his life.
I used to go to musical jam, but when I came here, I don't do that again. I have stopped all that we did in the past because it is not allowed here. You know, when there is such musical jam, boys and girls come together to commit certain acts.
Natives use opportunities like this to teach girls to avoid deviating from what is defined here as right or wrong. So I asked what is wrong with using musical instruments.
To be honest, musical jam is not important in our life.
Women can have fun or dance without mingling with men. We can have fun in the bride's house for as long as we want. But when we go to the groom's house, we minimize the fun.
Our cameras captured the bride who was ready to begin her journey to the groom's house. Here too, there is no refreshment or even long gathering of men and women after the ceremony is over.
The KNUST police in Kumasi are holding a 19-year-old man said to have sexually abused a sheep, which died shortly thereafter. Richmond Atta, who hails from Asoche near Ejiso, was caught in the act by some youth at about 8 p.m. on Thursday at Eija ECOWAS. The sheep wobbled soon after the act and died whilst being carried to the police station. Richmond is said to have confessed to the act. Watch this video and we'll come back and speak with my colleague Ohim Interior on this.
Okay. Ah! Ouvrez! 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 Onga! Allez, police station, ouvrez, va onga! Ouvrez, va ya! Ah? Ouvrez! Ouvrez! Allez, jamais, pas marqué. Et puis, même là, ouvrez. C'est avec quoi, toi? C'est avec quoi? Aha, muda, oh, mama, no maninka sansa. Maninka sansa, maninka sansa, oh, maninka sansa. Maninka sa. Kasa, kasa. Odo free, kasa. Odo free. Count your time.
A really worrying video there. Let's speak with my colleague Ohim Interior, who joins us via Skype. Good evening to you, Ohim. What is the latest on this case?
Good evening, Aisha. The suspect, Richmond Atta, still remains in police custody, but I can confirm that this morning, the owner of the sheep, acting on orders of the police, buried the carcass of the animal that until this morning was left at the KNUST police station.
Wow. How is, what's the atmosphere in the community where this gentleman was caught in that act?
It's a densely populated community, and especially at the time of the incident, many of the residents had returned home from their normal businesses. So it came as a surprise for the young man to muster that courage and to chase after the sheep until he and his accomplice succeeded in capturing one of the sheep. So even the owner of the sheep says he was shocked and surprised at the action of this young man. And it was through his intervention and other relatives who supported him that he managed to march the suspect to the police station without being attacked by a mob who rushed on him after hearing that he was in the community and had committed that act. Aisha.
Has he since given any reason, I mean the culprit, reasons why for his actions?
For him, at the time of his arrest, he wouldn't respond to many of the questions that the residents of the mob who gathered asked him, except that he admitted committing the act. And later at the police station, I was told he repeated saying he did not deny that indeed he sexually abused the animal. But as to what motivated his action is something that is yet to be explained. Today, for instance, the KNUST Police Command were a bit busy. I tried getting some response to the extent that I spoke to the divisional commander, who also confirmed the arrest of the gentleman, but says he will want to speak to the issue later when they are done dealing with a pending issue on their hands at that time. So for his actions, it still remains unknown, but many have raised questions as to why a normal human being will go to the extent that will be accompanied by an accomplice, hide and then chase after sheep, and to the extent that he will manage to sexually abuse the sheep to the point of death. And that has raised a lot of questions among the community. And many people continue to ask questions as to what motivated his action. Aisha.
For the update, we'll come to you again in our subsequent bulletin for some update. You heard of him interior on from Love FM on that beat. Still to come in this bulletin, mobile telecom giant MTN begins migration of subscribers onto alternate internet service provider after damage to undersea fiber cables caused massive disruption to mobile internet services. Time now for business. Sandra Perno is here with business. Sandra,
I saw you browsing. I'm not sure you've been affected by the MTN.
Well, that's why you should. That's why you should use multiple networks.
All right.
If one doesn't work, the other will work.
Okay. All right. My name is Sandra and I'm here for business. Mobile operator MTN says it is migrating data subscribers onto a different line to help manage current challenges with its main subsea cables. The mobile operator yesterday had its data services disrupted due to a cut in some of its subsea cables in London and Portugal. Corporate Services Executive Samuel Cranton says they are committed to restoring full services to their subscribers.
Would realize that the data services are not completely off. The challenge is intermittent because we rely on other cable systems like the ACE cable system, main 1, and SAT3 as well. But then the wax cable carries most of the traffic, and the impact on this cable, which was the high ultra capacity cable, has been quite sharp. But then you would realize that the services are slowly coming up because the teams are working very hard to restore capacity on that particular cable, and we're rerouting more traffic through the ACE system and other cable systems.
Meanwhile, the company says it is yet to discover where the incident actually took place, as a team is on its way from South Africa to locate where the incident actually happened. Let's hear again from Corporate Services Executive Samuel Cranton.
A specialized vessel has left Cape Town trying to locate the Congo international waters, and another vessel has left the Europe trying to locate the cut between London and Portugal. We are working round the clock. In terms of timelines, unfortunately, I cannot put a time to it, but then we will give an update as to progress later on today.
Still on this development, host of Gig Squad, Kobe Spike Nkrumah, has been assessing the impact of the disruption on businesses. Aside Ghana, we are told that some 11 other African countries have been affected by this development. He spoke to Darko earlier on Business Live.
A lot of businesses would really suffer because most connections rely on the internet. For instance, banks have to connect to each other branches over the internet, and all their networks are based on this internet connectivity. So when there's that downtime, there's a difficulty in communicating between branches. And if you're a business that relies on cloud services, you'll be suffering some downtime. If your systems or your applications are hosted on the cloud, you can't access them. So that's a whole lot of revenue people will be losing. They wouldn't be able to serve clients. They wouldn't be able to even do your regular backups. Because imagine, let's say today you're done with your transactions for the day. You have to back up so later you can get your files. You're unable to back up. And then something happens coincidentally and you lose all that data. That could cost you a whole lot of money. And then your clients also trying to access your services. Let's say if your service is also cloud-based and your clients use a certain network and they're trying to access it, they also have troubles. And because the communication didn't come early, a lot of people thought the problem was with their devices. And with such a problem, you find people toying around with their devices doing. So when even the system is restored and their settings are not restored to how it actually would work, they still don't have connectivity. They're saying that it was a submarine that cut it. A lot of things, I mean, it's nature. It's a cable running under the water, so a lot of things could have caused it. Even some, you know, earthquakes and earth tremors under sea could even cause something to happen to this. But they said it was a submarine that hits the cable and then ruptured it.
So this is a big deal. A lot of customers have been affected, and I've been joined by a technology consultant, Maximus Ametogbo, to discuss more on this. And we actually want to focus on redundancy. Yes. I want to understand the rule of thumb for creating redundancy capacity in situations like this.
Yeah, I think this particular incident is their main pipeline. Right, so the issue of redundancy may not be there. I'm not sure they were expecting the cable to be cut. Right, because that's the main line that feeds the whole of Africa and the other 11 countries and all that. So I'm sure they did not anticipate that was going to happen.
Yeah, so just help with a little education here. So when we say redundancy, what does it mean and when does it come in? Because I thought it was supposed to be some sort of backup that you follow in situations like this. Yeah,
so redundancy normally are just bypasses. So if you pass through this one, you can enter to another gate and all that. So just bypasses that you create for the same route. But this is like the main route. It's like the Akosombo Dam. You have all these 6 tubes that the water passes through. If one doesn't work, you have to shut it down and get it repaired. There's no way you go and fix another one somewhere. So that's the cause of that. And these are cables that they lay from maybe Europe to Africa, and then they spread it to all the other countries. So if you want to create another one, it means that you have to double the cables. And the cut may be the same because they're going to lay through the same coordinates. Unless you go and lay it through another route. So I'm sure they did not, it's not something that they expected. And this is what they call the act of God anyway. Act of God because it happened. Exactly.
Okay, right. But for me, I'm worried because we don't know when the issue will be resolved, because in that piece that we played, we are told that a team has left South Africa, is going to detect where the thing actually happened. They don't know because this is between London and Portugal. And so now that we don't know, it's going to take a longer time to resolve the issue, and that's not too good.
I think the telcos, they work with the speed of time, because any second that passes by is millions of dollars to them as well. It's not just the inconvenience to the customers, right? So I'm sure they are going to check where the fault is. And you see, normally what we don't understand, that internet is both virtual but first physical. So all the browsing that you do, it goes through a pipeline that has been laid under the sea from Portugal or London to wherever you are, before they use the cell site to transmit the connection to your devices and all that. So when you are pushing data, it goes to the same pipeline. So they may, I'm sure they know it wasn't something that happened within the Africa geographical area, that between London and Portugal. So it means that they had the sensors and all that to detect where the particular incident is.
You mentioned clearly this is an act of God, but
Yeah.
what should mobile network operators do in instances like this to minimize the impact on subscribers in the future?
Yeah, of course, they have to build another system, or maybe they need to rent another pipeline. And MTN is the largest mobile service provider in Ghana.
Right.
And the other subscribers or the other networks, they are not even 50% of the MTN number. So even if you want to migrate to another server and another service provider, their system may not be configured to work the way you want your service, your subscribers services to work. The promotions you are running, all those other ones, how your system has been configured for pricing and all that may not work properly. So, and then maybe the other telcos they may not also have the redundance, a bypass or enough bandwidth to be able to accommodate MTN, so they can also run, effectively.
I'm just thinking aloud.
Yes.
In a layman's question, I want to ask for the layman.
Right.
What should the regulator be doing? Do they have a role to ensure? Because I know they do periodic checks, they check on their upgrades and all that. So, in such an instance, what should the regulator be doing to ensure that, we have individuals and businesses don't get affected by such outages?
Yeah, I think the regulator, I'm sure they work with the telecom companies to do that. This is not something that calls for fines as we know they do. But this is something that happened not within the market space. It's not deliberate, it's not intentional, it's not something that they are doing to sabotage businesses or their customers. So I'm saying the regulators should work with them so that they can make sure the issues are resolved as soon as possible so that the Ghanaians can have the convenience of a good connection.
We pray that happens to Maximus Hametagwa.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining. That's how we end the first part of Business. I am Sandra S. Namapen. I'll be back after 8 p.m. with more business news.
We're still live on Joy News Prime. Now to the rest of our stories. And the driver at the center of the accident at Dompoase Junction that claimed 34 lives was put before a Cape Coast court on Friday and remanded. The court account he gave on his hospital bed has been discounted by police investigators after an extensive investigation. Roads and Highways Minister and the Transport Minister who visited the accident scene on Friday announced government was going to dualize the Accra Cape Coast Takoradi-Tarkwa highways to reduce the impact of accidents that happen in Ghana. Richard Kwejonyako has more.
The gory accident at the Dompoase Junction has generated several narrations as to who or what might have caused the accident. The first account is from a survivor of the accident who says the driver driving the red bus and heading towards Takoradi undertook an illegal overtaking. Following that, the driver spoke on his hospital bed, debunking the claim and roped in 2 other drivers. Here's Mark Kofi Mreku, the surviving driver's accounts. It is not true that I was overtaking another car. I was even on the second gear, and that cannot be a speeding gear. What happened was that there was an articulated truck that has stopped in the middle of the road. I tried veering off, and in the process, the white bus rammed into ours. It wasn't easy. It wasn't that I was overtaking any vehicle. I had to escape through the roof of the car to safety. I got injured on my chest, my arm, and my leg and couldn't move. The driver's account is viewed by the police as an afterthought, a claim that lies in the figment of the driver's imagination. Central Regional Police Commander COP Paul Awini gives a succinct account after what he calls a thorough and extensive investigation conducted by his outfit.
There is some allegation that on that day a bus or a vehicle ran through the victims that were rescued and then possibly killed a number of victims. Our preliminary investigations has not shown that this is the case. That cannot be true as at this stage of our investigations, because The accident occurred roughly around 10 minutes past 12. By 12:25, 12:30, fire service and police emergency operational teams were on the ground. So meaning that about 20, 25, 30 minutes after the accident, our emergency teams were in place. And as soon as they got in place, a few minutes after, my district police commander for Elmina was also in place. And they all remained on the ground until our emergency operations on the ground were completely finished. And all of them have given statements, and it has shown very clearly that no vehicle has run and killed people immediately after the accident. If a vehicle truly plowed through the victims that were rescued, chances are that would have had a lot of mutilated bodies. But from our investigation so far, it is only 2 of the dead that were mutilated.
Subsequently, the driver, who was treated and discharged on Thursday, was immediately arrested and put before court on Friday. He was charged with careless and inconsiderate driving. He has since been remanded into police custody to reappear on the 31st of January. The regional police commander on Friday led a team of the Roads and Highways Minister, the Transport Minister, the Central Regional Minister, and some officials of the National Road Safety Authority to the scene of the accident. Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoah-Akwanta announced that Cabinet had approved the dualization of the Accra-Cape Coast-Accra-Takwa highways and other major highways across the country.
You know, this road is earmarked for dualization, Accra-Takra, even to continue to Takwa. We are currently dualizing part of the Central Corridor, and if you talk about Central Corridor Road, we are talking about the road from Accra through Kumasi to Tamale to Paga. You know, we intend dualizing Accra-Aflao. These are all plans that we are working on, and they are at various stages of implementation. Okay, we have started the Accra-Kumasi stretch of the road because of the traffic volume there, so we have prioritized that. And we know it's a world record that if you dualize the road, fatal accidents reduce significantly. Perhaps for accidents, nobody may, record 0 accidents on our roads, in any particular year. But it will reduce significantly. And even if should any accident occur, unfortunately and regrettably, if the road is dualized, because it's not possible to have a hair-long collision, it may not be as fatal as we are experiencing.
Transport Minister Kweku Furiesiama was upbeat if drivers drove with caution on our roads, the chances of accident happening and killing and maiming Ghanaians would be minimal, and called on the media to lead the way.
To go further, to appeal to the media, the civil society, and even our clergy, the Muslim community, and our reverend ministers, to use their podiums to advise our traffic. I think we are getting to a point that we all need to speak out. So I'm going to use this medium to appeal to you, the media, that every morning, when you get up and you start your morning program, please use 1 minute, even 30 seconds, to educate everybody about road safety. Maybe I will find time to go and see the clergy and the Muslim community and see how we can all get ourselves involved. Because like the Minister for Roads and Highways just said, government may do whatever he needs to do. You just accuse government that we haven't done anything. What about the driver, your destiny, your own life? Like he said, one person may cost the life of about 45 people. In this case, about 35 people have lost their life due to the carelessness of one person.
CEO of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Dr. Eric Njedu, briefed the team on the accident victims.
So in all, we had 34 dead bodies that we had to go through processes of identification and the release to the family. By yesterday, we had only 10 bodies left in the morgue to be claimed 5 of which have been identified. So in total, out of the 34 bodies, 29 have gone to the process of identification, and then a good number of them have been released to the families. We are hoping by close of day, we would have identified the 5 that are left, and then the necessary releases will be done to the families. On the ward, as you saw, we have 6 males currently on admission. 4 of them will require major surgeries for fractures of the extremity. 1 will require surgery on the face. On the female surgical ward, you observe we have 9 patients, some of who will also require some surgeries. On the pediatric ward, we have 2 patients left, 1 semi-unconscious, a child that you saw under observation. We are hopeful that we'll be able to contain the rest of the situation and come out of this.
Brother-in-law of a police inspector who was killed in a gas explosion, Seth Nyantechi Bala, says the 11-year-old daughter of the officer tried to save her mother with a basin of water before she was also caught up in the fire, which subsequently led to her death. At the 1-week commemoration at Ablekuma, he stated the incident, which wiped out the entire nuclear family with the exception of the deceased's husband, has left them traumatized. 45-year-old Inspector Kate Hawa Kwakuru died last week Sunday when a gas cylinder at her home exploded while she was in the kitchen. A 22-year-old third-year university student, 11-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son all died in the domestic accident.
It's a somber atmosphere here, and all the songs that have been sung here capture the moments. The Ghana Police Band have been trying to console the mourners who are gathered here with their music. Perhaps it has not done the magic yet. This is the taxi that was used in transporting the police officer and her 3 children to the hospital. I've been speaking to the taxi driver, Ebenezer Safo, who's also a tenant where the deceased officer lived. Ebenezer Safo has been narrating to me the moment he had the explosion and how they all came out to help.
That I'm washing the car, but I went to the room. I went to my room. As I went to my room, that time I heard the sound. The sound like boom. As I heard the sound boom, we all ran, and some of the ladies from the church entering the room. We saw first child from the place where it's burning. The place that's the explosion is. We saw her coming out from that place. She was burnt. She was burnt. So she was saying, "Oh Jesus, Jesus, what is this? What is this?" That's 9 years girl. 11 years girl. She was saying, hey, what is happening? What is happening? Because she's a child. She don't know what is happening to her.
The top brass of the Ghana Police Service was here to commiserate with the family. I've been speaking to brother-in-law of the deceased, who has described the incident as traumatizing. Many of the people here are unable to control their tears. The police officers who came looked dejected.
From church, she decided to prepare food. But as she checked, the gas in the cylinder was small. So she sent somebody to go and fill the gas. Whilst awaiting, the person was not coming. So she decided to use the coal pot to prepare the food. Whilst preparing the food, the one who went to fill the gas came with the gas. That person used the gas to heat food to eat. After that, he put it off. Whilst the woman was still cooking with the coal pot, he felt that there was a leakage from the cylinder. So he called her first son, Emmanuel, to come and check whether it was indeed leaking and whether he can do something about it. Emmanuel, who was studying in his room, came out, and indeed he felt that it was leaking. Man felt that he needed to take it from the kitchen to the outside for safety. Unfortunately, he used the direction where the mother was cooking, where the coal pot flames were already lit. And as he got there, the gas which had already leaked into the atmosphere is the one which caught fire. And the woman got burnt instantly. The son, because he lifted the cylinder, the gas was around him, so he too caught fire. Then Joy, our beloved, fetched water and poured it on the mother who was burning, thinking she could save the mother. And in the process, the fire caught up with Joy too. The little one, that is Ebenezer, 11-year boy, the 9-year boy, by whatever means, ran into the mother, and the fire spread onto him too.
Out of curiosity, I've checked on the internet on the do's and don'ts when it comes to the use of gas cylinders. I've also heard what I consider as myths about the usage of gas cylinders. But I'm here today at the headquarters of the Ghana National Fire Service to speak to an expert on what exactly are the rules governing the use of gas cylinders at home in order to prevent domestic fires like what we experienced just some days ago. I'm here to meet Michael Walter Okai. Nice to meet you, sir.
The pleasure is all mine.
Great, fantastic.
Mostly people go there and then they ask that they fill the gas to the brim. We are saying no, that is not supposed to be. So those of you who have been tipping the vendors to fill the gas to the brim, I want to advise you that it is better you are cheated than it being filled to the brim. Secondly, how do we handle the gases when we are coming home? Most of our ladies will say it is too heavy, so they put it on the ground and then they roll it. It is also not advisable. Those with vehicles, they put it at the back and then it will be dangling in the boot. It is also not advisable. What we are saying is, when you fill the gas, make sure you position it in an upright position. But the question is, where do you place the gas cylinder? We are saying you are not supposed to put it in your kitchen. Let it go outside the kitchen. You understand? Mostly we think about theft, that yes, people will come and steal and other things. It is better to keep it outside than to keep it within. We've added fragrance to the gas. So anytime there is leakage, the fragrance will come out. And when you feel it or when you smell it, you can tell that yes, there is leakage of gas. And what are some of the things that leads to the leakage of gas? You understand? The issue is mostly the regulators we buy. There's a rubber wash. Sometimes when we go to the vendors, they change it for us. But what we don't do is, we don't examine if they are fitting a new one. Because when you go and they take out your worn out ones, you understand? Sometimes you don't even take it from them. And there are people who are mischievous, people who want to make money. So sometimes what they do is, when they take out your worn out ones, they clean it and sell it to somebody else. Or the next time you come, they may end up selling it to you. So my advice to the general public is, when you go there and they take out the worn out ones, take it from them and go and throw it away yourself. And when you are cooking with the gas, I want to advise, most of our people, our ladies and our gentlemen, please, when you go to the kitchen, don't be using your mobile phones. Don't pick phones closer to your gas cylinders. It is not advisable. When we look at sources of heat, radiation is one of it. And the phones we use, they are radioactive materials. Radiation comes and then we get the call. It is enough to set your entire edifice ablaze.
Over 600 shops at the Tiptoe Lane at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle remain shut after a 3-day validation exercise by GUTA and the Ministry of Trade and Industry. The foreign traders refused to participate in the exercise, which was to access and validate their documents before they are allowed to continue doing business in the country. The foreign traders say they want some cooperation between them and Ghanaian traders, but GUTA insists the shops will remain locked until the traders provide their documents. There is more in the following report.
Members of the team who undertook the 3-day exercise comprised officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Immigration Service and the Trades and Industry Ministry. It comes after several agitations by the Ghana Union of Traders Association over the concerns foreigners are illegally engaging in retail trade. Although the leadership of the Nigerian Union of Traders Association Ghana says it was not aware of the exercise, GUTA insists notices had been posted on their shops to avail themselves from Tuesday with their business operating documents for assessment and clearance. Even though most of them showed up on the first day of the exercise, only one of them was able to produce his documents. Deputy Public Relations Officer of GUTA, Joseph Oseya-Wajiman, says the shops will remain closed if the traders do not provide the requisite documentation.
I don't have to predict the outcome. The outcome is there for everybody to see. At least if they had come and presented even some 2 or 3 documents, and maybe they were lacking some of the documents, at least we could have given them the way forward to see how best we can go about it. But they wouldn't even sit down for you to ask them questions. So I don't know. They have put themselves in a bad state. I don't know what we can do for them now.
Secretary General of the Nigerian Union of Traders Association Ghana, Evaristus Nwanko, pleaded with the government to open the shops for the traders and later follow up with the validation exercise.
I think the proper thing to be done or to have been done will be for the government to open people's shops and then allow people, tell people that we are coming to your place on so day, produce so documents. But this one, you say they should come to an open field and what? That is an anarchy. You are trying to bring a chaos situation. What GUTA is doing is that they are playing, there's this kind of master-slave relationship that they want to play with some of us, or we Nigerians in Ghana, which I told them that is very unfortunate. These things have happened before. A lot of people have asthmatic children. I know some that have sickle cell children. And they need medication every day. And the parents cannot afford. When we begin to apply the law the way they apply, if Nigeria begin to apply that law, I can assure you that 85% of Ghanaians in Nigeria will leave because most of them don't even register. In fact, some of my friends, they register enterprise. We have been complaining about that. Here they don't register us enterprise. It was when we complained and the ECOWAS came in 2009 that we were able to register only 3 people, enterprise. And I'm pleading with Ghana government, they should not allow this thing to get into people so that when they see a Ghanaian, your friend, those who have accommodated you for years, then you see them as an enemy and they maybe begin to plan to treat them in an unfair manner. I don't like that at all.
He says some of these traders have left the country because of the situation.
We're still live on Joy News Prime. We'll take a break. When we come back, we have the editorial with Araba Kumsin.
Imagine the Accra Sports Stadium filled to capacity. What would be your reaction if you found out that all of the people in there, including those in a queue to enter the stadium, are dead? Well, that's the number of people killed through road crashes in the last 28 years. In fact, by the end of this year, Ghanaians killed in road accidents would surpass 50,000, enough to fill the Accra and half of the Tamale Stadium. This is the scale of Ghana's accident problem. Now, between January 2017 and January 2020, 6,700 people died, and more than 2,000 die every year. Well, Tuesday morning, the nation woke up to yet another accident on the Cape Coast Takoradi Highway, a road notorious for frequent car crashes and high mortality rates.
To start rather on a very sad note, 29 people have been confirmed dead in an accident on the Elmina Commander Road. The accident occurred at Dampoase, which is described as an accident-prone area. Dozens of victims are also battling for their lives at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital.
The Road Safety Commission says 35 people, including children, were killed in that accident. Adomansa is 6 years old. He was in a bus heading to Takoradi from the eastern region when it collided with another bus heading to Accra. He suffered head injuries and fell into a coma. When little Adam regained consciousness at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, He immediately asked for his parents. No one could answer him. No one knew where they were. His father, John Ansah, was identified as one of the dead. He was not alone. His wife was also killed in the accident alongside their 8-month-old boy. While Adum and his 10-year-old sister Nshraba survived the accident, but they are now orphans. So what has the state done about these increasing accidents in the country? In the wake of this accident, government says it would act. Key among what it intends to do is to dualize the Takoradi-Accra Highway to end the bloodbath.
The road is earmarked for dualization, Accra, Takoradi, even to continue to Takwa.
But would anything change? This is not the first time governments have promised and failed to act. The evidence shows majority of these accidents are head-on collisions, which means that dualizing some of these roads would be a major game changer. How long will it take for us to do that for major roads like the Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, Takoradi, etc.? So government must act and act fast. But drivers must also take responsibility for the lives of the many they carry and stop the recklessness on the road. Transport owners must take responsibility for the carnage on the roads and train their staff to be more cautious. And these transport companies, whose buses are known to be involved in accidents, must be boycotted. We need to learn from best practices, and one of them is the STC example. I mean, when have you ever heard of accidents involving their buses? As Ghanaians, we need to value our lives more. Otherwise, children like Adum and Nshraba will continue to be orphaned. So my question to you is, when are we really going to end the bloodbath?
And that's how we end the bulletin on Joy News Prime. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. On behalf of the rest of the team, have a great evening.